Good morning to you, a very good afternoon, a very good evening to you, wherever you are listening to our webinar today for International Coach Week. Welcome. My name is Natalie Ashdown from the Open Door Coaching Group. And I'd like to also welcome and thank our partners at International Coach Week 2021, Synergy Global, and CEO Heather Jane Gray is with us today on the line. So today I'm welcoming Mel Leow to the line, and we're going to be having a dialogue, a conversation around what does it mean to be coaching in the new world. Before we begin, let me acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, and their continuing connection to the land, the waters, and the communities of Australia. And we pay our respects to them and to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And I'm always grateful for this technology that we have, where we are actually able to meet from all around the world for International Coach Week. So what a pleasure to be coming together with you all today. Enjoy your coaching. Well, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be enjoying a discussion about coaching today. And it's my pleasure actually to introduce you to Coach Mel Leow. Mel and I have known each other for a very long time. We first met at an International Coach Federation gathering. It was one of those chance meetings where we struck up a conversation and really had a wonderful conversation and dialogue. And we have been doing that for I don't know how many years, Mel. Every opportunity we have, maybe once every 6 months, whatever it might be, we have these great conversations and dialogues. Mel is an MCC coach who has enormous experience. He's actually contributed and the co-author to the latest edition of Bring Out Their Best as well, where he brought in all the Asia Pacific case studies into Bring Out Their Best. And we had a great time working on the book when we launched it as well. So welcome, Mel. I just really want to acknowledge you and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Natalie. It's been an utmost pleasure getting to know you in the first time, as you said, back then. I believe it was 2007.
Oh,
so
wow.
We reveal any more than that, but you know, that's how long I think we've known each other. So
amazing. Well, I'm always grateful for our friendship, and as we mentioned, I'm grateful for our dialogue. So today, everyone, I wanted to bring Mel onto the line, and this is going to be an interactive session, and it's a dialogue that we would really love you to engage in as well. Yes, I've got some questions for Mel about the new world and what's happened to the coaching industry from the impact of the global pandemic, but we really want to keep this real, and we really want to hear from you as well. So please feel free, excuse me, pop a message into the chat box. You can just send that message to the panelists, to us directly if you like, or put a message in there to the panelists and all attendees, and then everyone on the line can actually pick up your messages, your questions, your comments as you go along. And as you know, we'd like to really keep this interactive so that we can learn and you can share your ideas as well. If you are interested in achieving a CCEU certificate for this event, they are available. And at the end of our conversation together, I'll just pop the link. I'll actually drop the document into the chat box, and that will you can actually download that document. And if you can't download the document for any reason, I will also let you screenshot it at the end of our session together as well. So Mel, perhaps I could kick off with a question. Coaches, and I was looking at the more of a commentary and then a question. I've actually dropped into the chat box this document, which is the COVID-19 coaching industry report done by PCW, Pricewaterhouse, and it was commissioned by the International Coach Federation. It was done just after they released the Global Coaching Study, and they redid that study actually, and they redid the study specifically looking at the impact of the global pandemic of COVID-19 on the coaching industry. 8,500 people, 8,500 coaches actually responded to that study. So we got a really good handle on what was actually happening. Let me just pop that link in to people if they haven't got it. If you want to You can download it from the ICF website. It is actually a freely available study as well. So it's just uploading again. Oh, sorry, got to send it to all attendees. That's what I did. That was a mistake. Here we go. As you know, these sessions are recorded live. So there we go. Hopefully everyone can. It's just uploading now. Everyone can see that. I've sent it to panelists and attendees. So in the study, they were talking about the overall impact of COVID-19 on coaches, and 25% of coaches that were surveyed said that there was a significant impact. 40% said there was a limited impact. And only 8% actually said that there was a positive or significant positive impact. And if we actually look across the different regions and look across the different coaching disciplines, it was business coaches actually. So they separated in between business coaches and non-business coaches. It was actually business coaches that seemed to have had the most significant impact in terms of their coaching business. So it's interesting to know, obviously, like the rest of the world, that the coaching industry was not alone in terms of the impact of COVID-19. But Mel, what I'm interested in is perhaps you could share for you what was happening for you prior to the COVID restrictions happening. And I probably should tell everyone on the line, this won't be just a discussion of all the downsides. We have identified many upsides, actually, many ways that coaches responded that actually had significant benefit as well. But perhaps we can start on the downsides and then we'll get to the positives. So Mel, what about yourself? What was happening for you prior to COVID restrictions actually kicking in?
I was having a ball, right? Traveling back to Asia. I live in Melbourne. And then head back to Kuala Lumpur. And every time I come back, I'll be like, "Hey, Natalie, I'm back. Want to have a coffee?" kind of thing. And life was good. Really, life was good. I was using the flights like Uber, right? Just saying goodbye. It's only 8 hours, right? Not that long, but use the time even on the plane to do stuff and prep and everything. When I get there, I hit the ground running. And I'm originally from Malaysia, so I do lots of work there, did lots of leadership development, executive coaching. That was 70% of my work, face-to-face, right? And then obviously I've got a bit of the online stuff as well. I also run a coaching school and the psychometric tools that you can administer online. So life was fantastic prior COVID, not a biggie. Yeah. I think it was pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah.
Of course, I missed family, right? Missed family, and every time I come back, I feel like that's what they call us husbands or fathers. They call ourselves the astronaut husband or the astronaut father, who's only around when they land back to Earth, right? So, yeah, that was happening for me.
And I appreciate you sharing that, Mel, because what we wanted to do in this dialogue in particular, and there's lots of amazing coaches on the line, feel free actually to share what it was like for you before COVID as well. In International Coach Week, I think it's a really great opportunity to be real and to be honest about what's happening, not only for ourselves, but what we saw in the wider coaching industry as well, but also the positives that we can take out of it. So Mel, what were you thinking or feeling as those COVID restrictions started to kick in? You were Ubering from, you were Ubering between Malaysia and Australia easily, working clients in Malaysia that expected you to be there face to face. So what happened for you in that moment?
Well,
or those moments?
The first thing that happened was things started to get tight in Malaysia, and then I kind of felt, instinctively, like us intuitively as a coach, right? That I have to get back to Melbourne. I had the whole week lined up, right? And I was just prepping for that. And then that weekend, it just suddenly shifted, right? And then I was checking online to say what happened to the Australian borders and stuff like that. And I just felt that I needed to get on the next plane. And I'll tell you a little bit of that story, because it was at that point of time when I wanted to change my plane ticket, because I didn't plan to come back that soon, right? And everything was shut already for the airlines. I'm like, that's very strange. Okay, they didn't allow me to change my flights. But that happened. And then I suddenly realized that I've got to get back. So I didn't think any further than to get my ticket. So I bought a brand new ticket, and that worked, thankfully. And I hopped back. And that was actually the last day, I think, that it was allowed for anyone to get back to Australia. So that's when it all happened. And I guess when I got back, I kind of like was locked down, obviously in my own home. I had my own time away from the family as well, being a good citizen of for the family as well, right? And then after that, I realized that after a month, I started not enjoying my time anymore. Because I started realizing, oh my gosh, 70% of my business may have been wiped out. So a little bit similar to some of the things that you were mentioning on the COVID report, right? About the impact on income, the impact on your business. It really happened to me. So I relied on face-to-face so much that it just dawned onto me that I needed to, the word pivot came to my mind, right? How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? So that was that thinking and feeling, on what to do. How do I grow my business now in a situation like this? So that was tough. Very tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I appreciate you sharing that, Mel, and a couple of people are jumping on the line saying exactly the same thing. In fact, I remember, I'm interested, you said that there was that intuition and you trusted your gut and your intuition on that to jump on a plane. And I think there's a lot of people on the line that can relate to that, where we have to trust our intuition. Something's not right. We need to act. And just acknowledging that you took those actions, the last plane, in fact.
Yeah, I see the comment on from Mike saying that's a situation that he felt as well.
Yeah. So Mike's offered here Mel's experience up until February 2020, and then my corporates terminated all the coaching, facilitating, training programs and commitments. All interstate work ended too. So yes, I remember almost the day that I started to receive telephone calls, and anything that was booked in face-to-face that I was having, and also our interstate travel was postponed. So I, like you, also had that feeling of what's going on. But you mentioned also, fairly quickly, by the sounds of it, you had to start kicking in, going, well, what do I do? How am I going to respond? So tell us a bit more about that, perhaps, Mel.
Sure. The best part of it is that I had those clients on phone, on call, right? And obviously the clients were also experiencing the same situation, right? I work with executives, so it's not like the organization is going to pull the plug straight away, right? Obviously they want the support for their top executives, and so I reached out to all my friends that I was coaching, and basically said, hey, I'm back in Melbourne, and they're like, oh, don't worry, I'm back home too. So everyone's back home, and let's do this on Zoom. Right. So in that sense, that business that was 70% went backwards. The percentage went backwards when I shifted all of my face-to-face, even in, can you imagine, even executive coaching, I used to do face-to-face because we would meet in this fancy places, you know, in Malaysia. You've been there, Natalie, remember?
I have.
Yeah, so we used to meet in, you know, in a nice, quiet hotels and cafes within the hotel. So it's nice places, and yeah, we just had to forego that and just focus on the person, focus on the coaching, and that's what happened. So I kind of reached out to other clients as well, yeah, and say, hey, you know, I know situations are bad and everything, but you know, I'm now still available. I'm available online now. So I had to reach out to some of them, and you know what, some of them responded positively, and of course some said, you know, we've got to wait and see. So there's this period of that wait and see, I'll let you know, and that letting know sometimes didn't come back to it. Some did, so I'm thankful for that. But I guess the thing is, I still could focus on different things. I could focus still on the online part of it. Just like the open door, right? You've got your certification online. So I had my certification online, so that continued. So what happened is I added more of the online availability. Yeah. So I had one more round of the certification because I had the time to do that. Right. So less of that kind of leadership development work, more of the coaching, certification stuff, more of the psychometric stuff. So I was pushing that as well. And you know what I got from that approach was, I realized that suddenly I could be in any part of the world now. Once I let go of that face-to-face, which was very, very close to my heart, right? Because I kind of, and also in my mind as a business owner, I'm like, that's the only way to run the business, right? It's face-to-face. Your clients want you there. When I let go of that, I realized that, hey, my world's not just Malaysia or Singapore or just that little part where I could physically go to. My world's bigger than that. So suddenly I realized that I could be living actually anywhere around the world and still have a viable business. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think we talked about it yesterday on a couple of the sessions, that ability to actually let go. And I imagine what I'm hearing is that a lot of our identities is wrapped up in the ability to jump on a plane, and like we treat it just like public transport. But you know, part of that, you know, I'm that's who I am. I jump on a plane, I head to Malaysia, I do this, I do that. All of a sudden, that's taken away. So we have to kind of. But in that letting go, as you said, it opens up that you can actually be anywhere in the world. It's like we knew that, but now we really experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. You're right.
There's some more experiences being. Go on. Yeah.
Go on. No, that's all right. Let's have a read.
Yeah, I was seeing there's more experiences coming in here. Heather Jane saying she especially missed face-to-face and the contact, and there was a lot of wait and see, as you've described. And Michael has, Heather Jane's also shared, the face-to-face programs were postponed. Many people moved easily online. A lot of the exec clients eventually moved online, which made remote working so much easier. And Michael has shared a similar significant pivot from a business school perspective too. He said there was a hiatus for a week before the entire business model switched to online. So there's something amazing there about, I think, our abilities to think creatively and to act very quickly. Not only, it wasn't only happening in the coaching industry, obviously, but that's what we're talking about today. Yeah. And Mike says also he reached out to his network, offered pro bono coaching and leadership mentoring. He was offered lots of Zoom sessions around the globe, with some of them turning actually into paid opportunities this year. So it gave him also a time to write a book. So there was lots of opportunity there. Actually, the study that we're referring to, it's quite dramatic in terms of the switch there that we're talking about, and it's pretty obvious now when we talk about it now, but back then it wasn't. There's a graph in here, I meant to tab it up, but it was basically showing the amount of business from face to face, and it was over 70% of the businesses, as you said, Mel, that was your experience, were face to face, and it basically switched from 70% face to face to 70% online. So it was a direct switch across the coaching industry, which we would have seen across a lot of different, across the board as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Our experience was we had to wait for clients to catch up, actually. So we were already online doing an enormous amount of work online, but we had to wait for our clients to catch up and issue the technology and everything they needed to work from home as well. Yeah. So, Mel, I'm interested in, you've talked a bit about how you've changed the way you approach your coaching. Is there anything else you want to share about that in terms of, you mentioned the switch to online, but is there anything else in terms of how you changed your approach to coaching?
I think the first thing is I spend a lot of time coaching myself.
Yes, yeah,
that's the first one.
Yeah.
I don't think I've spent that amount of time reflecting and thinking about what's next and everything than before COVID. I mean, I used to obviously do a lot of that, but when the business hits, you just tend to forget about it. But then with COVID, I think that happened first with me, because it just have like all the work that we do, right, as coaches, and we've got to work on ourselves first. And I think this work on myself was rather important, I think, to get me to a different place. Coaching is obviously very essential. I realized that through the COVID that coaching has become more and more in the essential than in the not. There are companies that are starting to talk about coaching now because of the situation. Then before, I see the trend of them just saying it's okay, we'll just give them 2 days of getting to know what coaching is, and that's it. But now they're saying, I think my people need a bit more time with an objective person like a coach, right? So the talents, not just the talents anymore, they're thinking that my senior people have gone through so much. I'll give this example, right? This CEO reached out to me, and it was funny. It was end of the year last year, and he said, I want to gift coaching to my people because they had a bad year last year. It's like, wow, that's amazing. Tell me more. It's like, yeah, the people persevered, the people stuck on with me. And so he was talking from his heart, right? It's like, I got to honor them with coaching. I'm like, wow, I sometimes wish there were more clients like that, but that's besides the point, right? He was the one saying, this is what I want to give them. And so there are more and more, I realize, clients who are saying the importance of coaching even through the pandemic, and even now after at least for Australia, that coaching now becomes a more important thing in the mix, right? And another example I gave you, right? Through that, for coaches, right? And we think of the downsides of many things, there are also upsides in many things. One of my coaching buddies in the US, he's an MCC as well. And he says, let me tell you this story, Mel. He says, before COVID, all of my clients are within 100 km radius of where he's at. He says when the pandemic happened, and obviously he pivoted and stuff like that, he had to work on the structure of his business. He said, now I have 26 clients one-on-one. That's quite a bit. I was thinking, like, in 16 different countries.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow, that is truly amazing. I was like, hey, I was celebrating with him, and it was like a mind-blowing thing for him, because all he knew at that point of time was, I gotta get business within my 100 km radius, right? And he would actually, as he said, he would drive some cases 80 km or miles, 80 miles in the States to a client, have great session, and then come back, right? Because the client wanted to see him face to face. And now he says, like, I have saved all of this time of traveling and added new clients, right? So that was just nice to hear all these wonderful stories that are coming back to us from clients saying importance of coaching. Really, we really need to invest in our people a lot more, especially in a trying time like this. And then on the other side, where coaches are saying, in a way, the same thing. His business went up suddenly from a localized, tied to a location, to now global. And obviously that talks about how we pivot everything from our communication to what we're saying on social media, and how important the world needs to see the message that we bring. Yeah. So those are some of the thoughts. Yeah.
Mel, I'm always inspired when I talk to you, because what I heard many things from what you've just shared, but what I heard was the pivot had to start with ourselves first.
Yeah.
So we had to work on ourselves first as coaches, and we're kind of fortunate from that perspective, aren't we, that we can do that. And then the other thing that I link that to is, one of the things we had to pivot on was actually letting go. So we had to let go of a number of things. And in doing that, work on ourselves and letting go, it opened up all of these opportunities. Yeah, it's just a really nice reflection, actually, that it has to start with ourselves. And it's a reminder of that, I think, as well. Yeah.
Personally, for me, Natalie, I didn't have, and I still don't have many one-on-one clients, right? I treat that as like goal time. So I need to very carefully choose. But even with my number of one-on-ones, it doubled, right? Even for my small number, it doubled during the time. So I'm not complaining in that sense. And yet I feel, obviously, on the flip side, there are coaches that have gone through lots of difficulty. Some have pivoted and gone back to work. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because it is the way to pivot best that you think it's possible, right? So yeah, all power to the friends that we have, I'm sure, who've gone back to the workforce, which is a good thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's about people, like you said, trusting their instincts about what they need to do and what's best for them and best for their families as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the other thing I picked up from what you said was around that coaching is now being seen to be more essential, and we experienced a bit of that as well. And what seemed to be essential that coaching can provide is actually the connection and the conversation. So we provided that safe space for people to be able to actually be vulnerable and say, this is what's happening for me, and it's bloody awful, or it's actually okay, like to actually say what it is for them. Because I'm not sure what you found, Mel, but I actually found that I relied on those close colleagues within the coaching industry to actually be able to say, to keep it real, to say, this is what I'm experiencing, and this is what we're seeing, and this is what we believe is going to happen, and all of those things. So I think my question to you is, did you observe that in your clients as well, that, you know, they needed and benefited from that connection that we can set up as a coach as well?
Oh yeah. Definitely, they used to use the time, I guess, when I think about it, to talk about business, right? Then I see a little bit of a shift. They started to use that time as well to talk about what's inside them, right? The stuff that they were going through that they could not actually really openly share to another person. So exactly what you're saying, Natalie, they became a lot more real. I'm not saying they weren't before, but suddenly, because of that, what it's done to them and their company as well, right? So they're feeling that whole pressure, extra pressure on their shoulders, and it's a great space. It's a great space to just talk through what they're feeling inside. So yes, there are benefits. There are many benefits to all of this. It made certain themes of coaching come up as well. A lot more coaching was done in the part where some clients were obviously releasing staff, right? So that was one of the most difficult things to do, is to let go of staff. But through that process, there was coaching through that as well, right? They recognized that they had to let them go, but not just without support. So suddenly different themes of coaching picked up. Our need to support the ones leaving the organization. And the word is what? Transition, right? How they're going to transition back up into a place that they can move on to. And so companies were investing in that, to allow these wonderful employees to transit into something else for their lives. So they were investing in the coaching for that. There was also the upskilling. I think people started to take a need or had a need to upskill themselves, right? They start to think now, okay, I need to spend this time at home to upskill myself in different areas, in the area of perhaps resilience and mindfulness, and all these other themes started to come up, right? And that's, I think, very important. Wellness in the workplace, all these wonderful themes. And I've seen what you've done as well, Natalie, and it's just so essential for the existence of business and how businesses, as we said before, could keep it real with their people, and not just shutting a blind eye and say, all's fine, we're back now, in Australia, we're all fine. But there's this resonance of difficulty that people have carried through in the whole year, and they needed a space to just be real and let out, right? So that's what I've seen, trends of different things that popped up. I also see another benefit from this, which is the opportunity to connect with the world in a sense of collaboration. If I tell you the different collaborations I'm in right now, I think you'll be kind of shocked. I'm like, so I'll read to you, because I wrote it down so that I won't forget, right? So I've got a collaboration with Belgium, with the US. I'm talking to coaches in India, in South Africa, in Hong Kong, in Indonesia. Suddenly, right? I don't have to get onto a plane to go there, right?
Yeah.
We've got LinkedIn, we've got different platforms. We've got the new platform called Clubhouse, which I am finding really difficult to get in. I'm like, anyway. But suddenly the word collaboration, right, means something different right now. And I think people on the other side are also open to it. Before, they were like, no, I'll probably do my own thing. But more and more coaches are open and wanting to collaborate with each other. And I think that would not have happened if this didn't happen. The whole time of even reflection of, what do I really want to do? What drives me? And what drives me is actually collaboration. And I started that with you. It started with you, Natalie, right? That whole idea of collaboration, of representing the open door in Asia, in 2010, right? So that reminds me, 10 years later, the power of collaboration. And yeah, this time I don't have to physically be back there. So yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful that you share that. It's almost like what I'm hearing from what you're saying, Mel, it's almost like this global pandemic actually helped us come back to what's most important as well. So the human element and the human element and what we that service and that safe space, that psychological space that we provide for clients, just to be real and be vulnerable and be themselves. So that's one part of it. But the other part of it is for those people like yourself, that where collaboration is so important, it's like we're coming back to what's actually most important. And I think for me, in the reflection on the coaching, that was quite a lot of what I did as well, was helping people focus on what was most important. Two things: what's most important to them, but then also how do they want to show up? So how do they want to show up as leaders? How do they want to show up as real human beings as we lead people through the situation? And of course, as you said, it's not over for many coaches. In Australia, we might feel okay, but for others, it's not over. So yeah, that idea about how we want to show up, I think resonated as well. And thank you to Heather. Thank you there to Heather Jane. She's dropping those statistics into the chat box as we go along.
Thank you.
So that's really quite helpful. We've only got 45 minutes together, Mel, which is a real shame. So, but for you, how would you kind of summarize now for yourself what that new normal really means for coaches?
I think one is, it's not a time to go back to normal. That's the first thing I tell myself. Don't get tempted to go back to the place where it's comfortable. And truth, I'm really comfortable meeting face to face with people. I'm a whole kinesthetic kind of person. I need those hugs, and like me meeting you the other day for lunch, right? It's like I needed that for me, right? But I think we've got to take the lessons and the learnings and to say that let's not go back there. Let's take what the good that we can take from it, right? And move to the right places, to do the right things, to be the right person in this space for the people that is needing you, maybe at home, obviously your clients as well, and more so for yourself, right? It is that the new normal begins here, I believe. And so trust your heart in wanting to, if you want to do something, and that's a little scary. Hey, you've gone through the pandemic already, right? And that was scary. You survived, you've come out of it with a lot of insights and lessons, and just go with it, because life is short, right? I give you an example, right? I got my MCC only a year plus ago. Right exactly the time when I hit back, reached home, I opened the mail, and I got my MCC. I was like, yay! And I was like, yay. So this was the cynical side of me. Yay for what, Mel? Because you can't coach, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. And so I went from a high And then I went to a low, right? I was like, what's all this about? And when I came out of that cycle, I realized that, hey, this is an opportunity to do something with it, right? And so a couple months later, I had this idea of starting this podcast. And I really thought that that's something that I could get into, even though I had no idea what the podcasting world's all about. I said, okay, I'll talk to a friend. Right? So I talked to a friend in India, of all places, and he started his own podcast. He's pretty well down the track, and he guided me. We had coaching session. Right? This is that part of the support, as you were saying, the community of coaches that we rely on, right, and we connect with. And he helped me through that lessons, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And the whole idea was to launch out this 100 master coaches that I've started, right? 100 master coaches on YouTube, as well as on all the platforms of podcasting. And imagine, I would have been too busy to do that if I was still flying around, going to lounges in the airport, doing my work there, you know, and all of that wonderful things which I miss. Don't get me wrong, I miss those stuff because I love traveling. But now I get to work on what's important. Now I get a chance to stretch even myself and say, hey, have you ever thought of writing a book? Write a book. So that also happened at the podcast. I was writing my book. It's not launched yet, but the podcast launched. So in that sense, I feel that that's the new normal, right? The new normal is getting to a place of brave where you and I could be pushing ourselves just a little bit out of that comfort and say, it's okay, because we've been there before. And now this is in that new space that we can either co-create, or you can develop something that actually deep inside, you know, you want to do it, right? But just too afraid to do it. But this is the chance. I just love this opportunity. I mean, even as I say that to everyone listening, right? This is your moment.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's anyone on the line that's not feeling that, Mel, and feeling that, you know, feeling that connection through you, and to remind us to focus on what's most important. And I just want to acknowledge your vulnerability and your willingness to share, Mel, because I think it is through leaders like yourself who are willing to share like this that it opens up all these opportunities for us as well, to be inspired, but also to connect and to think about what's most important for ourselves as well. So thank you so much. I know that we're right on time. Mel and I are happy to hang around for a little bit longer, but just as a final expression, thank you, Mel. Thank you for sharing with us that the new normal actually does start here. Thank you for reminding us as coaches around the opportunity we have to serve. And most importantly for me, thank you for reminding us that it does start with us, and it starts with what we need to let go of, and how we can use that and leverage that to collaborate and work together. So I really want to acknowledge you and thank you for everything you've shared.
You're welcome. And I want to say thank you for your friendship, because because it is connections like this that is meaningful, right? And a person like Heather Jane on the line as well. I can see her active in the chat, and I remember the time when I met Heather, I think at her office, and that were the pivotal moments that speaking to the strong pillars of our coaching world in Australia, that made a difference even for me. Right? So my last encouragement, if I may, is to go out there and connect with other coaches, because we're a tribe that is like no other, I feel, right? And it is this time right now that we need each other more than ever. So go out there and reach out. And so thank you, Natalie, for being my friend, beyond that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. And I love what you said there around the pillars of coaching too. We can see the attendees on the line, and there's so many original pillars of coaching. And I think that's what's given us the great opportunity, International Coach Week, to come together and to connect in this way. So thank you once
Absolutely.
again. For those